Hi everyone, David A. Cox here with PCClassesOnline.com. Today I am so excited to be sharing with you all of my AppleCare top tips and tricks. These are the kind of things that anyone out there who owns a Mac or is about to purchase a Mac should know. Not necessarily for things that you need to know right this second, but things that you may need to know down the road when you one day inevitably need a repair to your computer. So stay tuned. Here it is, my top AppleCare tips and tricks, coming up next on PCClassesOnline.com. Hi everyone. So not all of you may know this, but before PC Classes Online and before I started my small business locally where I live, I used to manage this Apple Computers dealership. And during that 2-year period, I learned just a ton of tips, tricks, secrets about how AppleCare works, how to get repairs covered that are normally covered, how to get them repaired faster than normal, and I'm just going to share all of them with you today. So my apologies if I actually go over 10. I actually know I'm going to go over 10. But this is just going to help, I hope, so many people out there. So please, please give us your feedback in the comments section below. I really want to know if this is helping you. Now, there's going to be a lot of resources that I'm going to mention for you today, and as with all of our videos, the links to all of those will be in the description of this video. And finally, before I really dive into it, for any of you who have just discovered our videos, please hit that little subscribe button. That way you can be notified when we come out with new content. You can subscribe for free, of course, and check out our little tutorial videos. So let's go into AppleCare. First, let's talk about what it is. AppleCare is an extended warranty that can be purchased only within the first year of purchasing either a brand new Apple computer or a certified refurbished Apple computer. We'll go into that more in a little bit. You can also purchase AppleCare for something like an iPhone or an iPad. I don't always recommend it for the iPhones or the iPads. I do if you have like young kids, if you have a dog that has a tendency to chew, if you are what I've referred to as gravity challenged, drop things a lot. That it's a good case, but not for everyone, because on top of paying for AppleCare, if you do break your phone's screen, you also have to pay an incident fee. And usually if you go to one of these stores that will just repair your iPhone and it's not an actual Apple store, or frankly, even the Apple store, usually the cost is right around the same because you're paying about somewhere around $100 for the warranty plus that incident fee, and usually the repair is right around thereabouts depending on how badly you damage your phone. So phone, iPad, it's questionable, but for a computer, without a single exception to the rule, always buy it. And if it means anything to you, I have it on my computer. And not just this computer, but every Mac I have ever purchased, at least, well, they've offered AppleCare. I don't think they offered it for that one back there, but that was a little before their time. Anyways, it's always worth it to buy AppleCare because of hardware protection. Yes, you get great phone support. That's awesome. Think of that as a benefit, but don't even focus on that aspect. This is all about hardware support. If you look at computers that are built today versus the way they were built 5 years ago, one of the things that you will find is that they are made of fewer and fewer components. And the reason why is they are soldering those components together. For example, in the case of the MacBook Air versus a MacBook Pro from 5 years ago, your RAM modules, your hard drive, those are all separate components. Not the case anymore. If either of those go on this, it's basically the whole computer. So it's always worth it, is what I'm saying, for any computer. The next trick I want to share with you is where to purchase AppleCare. And this might surprise you. So if you go to an Apple store, if you go to an Apple dealer, all of those are price locked. It's the same price everywhere you go. However, in the description of this video, I will give you a few locations to where you can buy AppleCare at less than retail. No surprise, it's actually Amazon. So I'll give you the direct link to each model, again, in the description of this video. Sometimes you can save $50, sometimes $100, sometimes it's not that much, but hey, savings is savings, and I want to try to help you all out as best I can. Now, the next trick is one, again, might surprise you, how to purchase AppleCare. Not just this, but also your computer. So when you use a credit card, there are certain benefits that come with that credit card. And I want to give you an example where you may want to use, if you have one, a platinum credit card. So years ago, when I was working with this Apple dealer, I remember we had this kid come into the store one day, and he's just in tears. And he has a brand new Apple computer, and he spilled a can of Coca-Cola all over the keyboard, fried the thing. Absolutely no retrieving anything. And so he's crushed. Of course, his dad is a little upset, And so I said, well, don't freak out just yet. Let me look through some stuff here. So I pull up his original receipt, and I see that the original credit card was an American Express Platinum card. So I gave them the direct number for Amex. They called, they filed a claim, and just like that, Amex paid for a brand new Apple computer. So it's not just about buying the protection, it's also about using that great credit card, because AppleCare does not cover liquid damage or physical damage, and frankly, it will void the warranty. So this is where having one of those really nice credit cards can absolutely save your butt, or at least your hard drive, or whatever else is failing. Next trick is what to do when you do need a repair. There's a few tricks here. So Apple gives everyone a very generic phone number, which is 1-800-MY-APPLE. What you may not know is there's actually a second phone number which bypasses most of the phone menus. Not all of them, but most of them, and it just gets you quicker to a human. And you can use this when you're calling with a question or when you need to actually set up a repair. That phone number, and this is a great thing to put into your phone, is 1-800-275-2273. And yes, I know that by heart, and trust me, I do not need to look that one up. On that same note, also I want to talk about something that they really don't put out there for a lot of you, and this is helpful for anyone who lives in a rural area, or if you just don't have an Apple store near you. So when you call Apple because you're having a problem with your computer, and this, by the way, is very specific to laptop owners. It doesn't apply to desktops. If you have a problem with a desktop, which does include Mac minis, you have to physically go to a store. But if you have a laptop and you don't live near an Apple store, there is actually an option to mail them your computer. And it might sound crazy, but trust me, it's worth it. So if I call them, for example, on a Monday morning and I say I'm having a problem with my computer, they will overnight me a FedEx box. It's protected, it's prepaid, you just tear their label off, there's a label beneath it, it's padded, you put your computer in it, and you ship it off to them. Usually about 2 days later, you get back your computer fixed with whatever the issue was. The speed is ridiculous. Basically, Apple has, I haven't figured out the exact deal, but they have some sort of an inside deal with FedEx where it's just ridiculously fast. So if you have a problem with your computer and you live in a rural area, or you just don't live that near an Apple store, ask if you can exercise the mail-in option. If they give you any crap over this, just tell them that you broke your leg. And Apple, if you're watching this, you may have noticed there's a few people with broken legs in Provincetown. Wonder where they got that advice. If you're the kind of person who is really concerned more than anything about what if you accidentally physically damage your computer, there is an additional warranty that you can get. You can either get this in addition to AppleCare or separate, which is called SquareTrade. And SquareTrade does cover liquid damage and also physical damage. I had a client of mine who had his 15-inch MacBook Pro, brand new, I think it was 2 weeks old, open. There was a skylight above him and a rainstorm came by and just all over the computer. SquareTrade is fairly easy to deal with. I would not put their customer service at the same level as Apple, but it's close. And I have seen them be very handy and helpful in terms of either repairing the computer or at least giving the person a check so they can buy a new computer. Again, don't put them at the same on the same pedestal as Apple, but it's a nice alternative option, especially for business owners. If you're concerned with this kind of thing, it's a nice secondary option if you want to go there. My next two tricks for you are both websites, so you will find both of these links once again in the description of this video. If you're not sure about the status of your AppleCare coverage, there's a website where you can go to and punch in your serial number, and it'll basically tell you, do you have AppleCare, is it still okay for you to purchase AppleCare, etc. So you'll find that link in the description of this video. The next is a good trick for anyone out there whenever you're about to report some sort of an issue, even if your AppleCare is expired. So every once in a while, there'll be a recall. Perfect example would be the 2008 MacBook Pro. The 15 and 17-inch models had horrible recalls. We could see it a mile away when someone was bringing it into the store. We could see them holding that classic, type of computer. We already knew what the issue was. So if you're having an issue, there's another website I'm going to give you, again in the description, that has every recall that is currently active. And it's a good thing to go to before you even make that initial phone call, just so that you know, can this potentially be covered even if my warranty is expired? My next trick is one that actually I did not that long ago with this computer. So with certain models, when they come out with a new model, in the case of the MacBook Air, again, perfect example, sometimes the specs of the new model are giant, and sometimes it's like they bump up the processor by 0.1. If that's the case, you might as well save some money and go with a certified refurbished product. Another perfect example, across the board, every single type of iPad, every single one, buy it refurbished. They swap the battery out, they change the back plate. It's awesome. Absolutely, without any exceptions to the rule, buy a refurbished iPad over a new one. Comes with the same 1-year warranty. Same thing, by the way, goes with the computer. And it's a great way to save some money. In the case of the iPads, these days, most iPads you can save $80 off a brand new one. And yes, that includes the current model iPads. So check those out. Direct link. You know where to go to get it. The next trick is one that thankfully I haven't needed to use that often, but I like to put it out there more than anything for my clients to be aware of this. If you have an issue with your computer and they're saying it's not covered, don't get angry. I'm not going to go into the, don't get mad, get glad. Kill them with kindness is the tip. So even if someone says it's not covered, if you're really sincere with them, you say, look, I've been a fan for years and years and years. This is my like 20th Apple computer. And in my case, that's probably accurate. You can eventually work your way up to a senior level person who might be able to pull some strings and get you that issue covered. It doesn't work always, but don't get angry with these people. Keep in mind, even though you're dealing with a customer service rep, they're human too. And they have feelings, and sometimes they may have abilities to make something allowable that wouldn't otherwise be covered. There's a very secret term within Apple's community. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get in trouble with them, but it's a certain code that is applied that if they issue it to you, basically it will override everything else. And I have seen this happen. Some of you may remember who go way back to Ben Pegg. Ben Pegg was with us back in the way back days when we did a podcast. He did our GarageBand tutorials. And Ben had an issue where I can't really say what the issue was, but it would never normally be covered under AppleCare. Apple issued this code, and he got a brand new computer. So my point is, always be nice. And that's always a good thing to know in life too, beyond just AppleCare. Be nice to these people. They're human, and sometimes they can make things happen for you that they might not do for someone who's not quite so nice. So there is one exception to the rule of type of person who should not purchase AppleCare. Anyone who lives in the United Kingdom. Basically, the UK has these really insane, and I'm a little jealous of them, consumer protection laws where every electronic device is covered for 6 years. And sometimes you have to tell them that in order for them to acknowledge it. But if you're in the UK, AppleCare is probably not for you unless you need a lot of phone support. So basically, if you live in the UK, just forget about AppleCare. Just go straight to their phone number, and it should hopefully be covered unless it's something like physical damage or liquid damage. Finally, I have one last little trick for all of you, something that they don't ever seem to publicize anymore. So when a lot of people purchase a computer, and I would know this, a lot of people purchase a few other items as well, and sometimes it's a router, sometimes it's a backup. If you've been watching our classes before, you've probably heard me rave about this product, but I am a giant, giant fan of the Apple Time Capsule. The Time Capsule is a wireless device. It's a 2-in-1. It's both a wireless router and a wireless backup system. And what's great is it'll actually back up multiple Apple computers. So there's this little trick, and you may need to call Apple to verify this is still 100% the case. If you purchase a Mac, AppleCare, and a Time Capsule, all within a very short period of time, like a couple of days, they can actually apply that AppleCare to the Time Capsule as well. And this is really, really important because you have to keep in mind that the number one repair is hard drives. And what's in a time capsule but a hard drive? It's just wireless. So if you're going to be purchasing a time capsule, buy it at exactly the same time as AppleCare and the computer, and you just might end up saving your butt with that device. Well, everyone, that is all for my AppleCare tips and tricks. Again, I hope you utilize some of those resources that I've given you in the description of this video. One last time, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. We try to put out as many helpful videos for all of you to enjoy. Share this with your friends, and we'll see you next time. This is David A. Cox with PC Classes Online. Class dismissed.